So if you wouldn't mind just giving us a brief kind of intro and why you're interested in joining the board.
Sure. I have lived in Northglenn for almost 8 years, and I live here with my husband and 4 children. I grew up in Florida, so originally from Littleton area, but came back to Denver 8 years ago. I'm interested to get involved in the community in a different capacity. I have done a lot of community service, but nothing on this kind of realm. I think, like a lot of people, I saw the Citizens Affair Board on the ballot and was, what is that? And kind of did some research and thought it was an interesting concept. And obviously the voters wanted to continue the board. And so I'm just interested to see, what kind of venue that board could serve for the citizens.
All right. Council have any questions they'd like to ask Jennifer? Jim.
I just have one comment. I want to say thank you so much for applying, Jenny. You and I visited a little bit before you ever put in an application. I know that you visited with staff as well, so I'm really happy to have you here. Can you tell me, as you think about serving, what are you the most excited about when it comes to the Citizens Affairs Board?
I think that the Citizens Affair Board could just give a new venue for the community members to go, maybe not in this kind of atmosphere, maybe a different venue that's a little bit maybe smaller and less intimidating, and feel like they have a voice that will help represent them, in finding a resolution or at least investigating a resolution to their concerns. Obviously, if they have the initiative to go before a board, they feel they have passion for what they're bringing forward to a board. So I think I'd just be excited to, look for new avenues to find, hopefully, a resolution to their concerns.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from council? No?
That was easy. That was easier than a job interview.
Well, thank you very much for applying. We really appreciate that.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Jennifer.
much.
Okay, do we have Heather Palige here? Is that how you say your last name, Heather?
Well, everybody says it differently. So I say Palige, but my husband says Palage, so.
Palige. Okay.
It's whatever's
I'll
easy.
say what you say 'cause you're there. All right, and you are also applying for the Citizens Affairs Board.
Yes.
All right, you want to give a brief intro about yourself?
Okay, so I live the same neighborhood as Mayor Pro Tem. He came around to our houses. I forget when it was exactly, but so it kind of got me interested in thinking like, there's somebody that actually just lives right here. I mean, put it down into, more of a earth, something I could attain to. And so we bought our house in 2007. Before that, we lived in Thornton. And I really like the area. I've been here for quite a while now. I'm a teacher, but I don't teach in Adams 12. I teach over at Pinnacle. So I've been teaching for about 17 years. And I like getting involved in different things with government. Like I did the caucus at the high school. Again, I don't remember, about a year ago or so. So that was kind of exciting. That was my first time for that. And I didn't take it too much further than that besides just voting. But I just kind of keep it small. So this was a way for me to kind of step out and see what else is out there. And then when I went to the Ward 4 meeting, and I saw some different people there, but it turned out that one of my neighbors was sitting right next to me, and I didn't notice it until the very end, so I got to talk to him a little bit, and he's been on some different boards, and so now I've talked to him lots of times, but I didn't know that about him, so I can kind of interact with him and say, well, what else? What do you think I should do? And things like that.
So. Okay, well, that sounds good. I'm glad you're interested. Any questions for Heather?
Just a comment. Well, thank you for serving or choosing to serve. I am a product of Pinnacle Charter School. I graduated. Yeah, so it's great to see you here. Is there something in particular that you are inspired to bring to the board, or something that one of your first things you'd like to tackle?
Well, actually, it has to do with our neighborhood area.
Yeah.
Because last summer I had a surgery, and so I was in all this pain, and we had so many potholes on 99th. It was ridiculous. And so I went online to try to find, you know, who do I talk to about this? Because if I was pregnant, I would have been angry, because I remember being pregnant with stomach moving, you know, and I was like, I need to be able to help out other people. And then a few months later, it was fixed. You know, it took a little while, and it wasn't that distracting, whatever. And so I thought, oh, now I need to go online and tell them thank you, because I really appreciate that they did that. Whoever, you know, got that ball rolling, I wanted to say thank you. And again, I couldn't find a place to do it on the website. So, of course, I know I could have probably walked over, but I still didn't know who to thank. So that was kind of my thing, was if somebody else is having a concern, I want to be able to listen, empathize, and kind of like she said, just try to figure out some kind of new resolution for it. So,
We'd be lucky to have you.
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for applying. Yes.
Thank you.
And our Public Works Director is filling in for our city manager. He's sitting right there, David Willen. Thank
For fixing 99th.
you. We're so glad
appreciate
that
it.
had a good outcome.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, I probably wouldn't have pointed him out. But thank you for
Some of us
applying.
appreciate it, yeah.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we also have 2 interviews for youth commissioners. Do we have Jarrett Lobb here? Hi, Jarrett. Come on forward. How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Good. You want to give us a little background on yourself and why you're interested in joining the Youth Commission?
Yeah. My name is Jarrett Lobb. I'm a 7th grader. I go to Holstrom, and I like to play soccer, and I'm the vice president of my school student council. And I guess the reason why I'm interested in joining the Youth Commission is because I've never really worked with a government before. I thought that would be, you know, something that's really interesting.
All right, very good. Any questions for Jarrett? Julie?
First of all, thank you for applying. And then also, what, from your perspective so far, what do you think you'd like to see different in North?
Well, I guess, you know, I would like, so I think, something that I could, you know, I think would be better in Northglenn is, I think, well, we don't really have many fundraisers at my school, you know, involving the city of Northglenn, and so I think that would be, you know, good if we got some there.
Okay,
Thank you.
Marcy?
So this is actually more of just a question. Can you tell me a little bit about the Holstrom Ambassador Program? Is it an anti-bullying program?
Yeah, that's what it is, and it's also supposed to be it's supposed to bring the middle school together a little bit, and so, you know, I think once a month we'll meet up and then we'll decide what we're gonna do during advisory that day, and then we'll get a bunch of people together, we'll play games, and it's supposed to help get the middle school, you know, more interwoven and stuff, and I'm also part of that.
Any other questions? So Jarrett, you're in 7th grade. How old does that make you?
I'm 13.
13, so you're one of the younger, you know, children that we've ever had come forward, and I love that because we need younger kids on the Youth Commission. So thank you for coming forward, and maybe you can talk some of your friends into also applying.
Yeah.
All right, well, good luck to you, and thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jarrett.
All right, and now we have Jacob Coe. Are you here? Is that Jacob? Hi, Jacob. Welcome. Can you give us a little bit of a background and intro on yourself?
Yeah, my name's Jacob Tao. I'm 14. I'm a sophomore at Stargate High School. I enjoy clarinet. I like playing chess. I'm in NHS at my school. And I'm just interested in joining the commission because it seems like a really good way to not only learn more about my local government and participate in it, but to help others do the same, and also just to gain more opportunities to volunteer in my community.
How did you hear about it?
I found it online, just looking at the city webpage.
Oh, you look for it? Good for you. Great. Are there any other questions for Jacob?
I just have a comment. I've just been very impressed in such a short amount of time with the participation. You didn't just observe at your youth commission meetings. You jumped right in and shared some really insightful thoughts and suggestions for the commission. So I think you're off to a great start.
Thank you.
Jordan?
Just quick question. You spoke to youth can provide a fresh perspective and insight on problems that we currently have in the city. Is there one in particular that you'd like to provide insight on, or you have already in a meeting, or something of complete interest or importance in your mind?
I think one thing I've noticed in the meetings is that there's a lot of discussion about city events that have been happening.
Yeah.
But until these meetings, I haven't heard about them. So I think just public outreach and better, getting the word out more would be one issue to focus on.
Awesome. I would love your perspective. Thank you. Any other?
I just want to say thank you for taking the initiative, looking online and getting involved. That is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I applaud that also. Thank you, Jacob, for coming forward and applying. You're free.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's a nice way to say it right here.
Interview is over.
Thank you. So now we're moving on to the good parts of the evening. We have two presentations, and the first one is with the Adams 12 5-Star School District Board of Education Director, that is long, Jamie Lockley, and Superintendent Chris Godowski. And they're here to give us a little update on what's happening. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us. We just wanted to stop by. We know that our cities really are key partners in education, and we want to make sure that we thank you for that, but also I know that there are some new faces up that haven't maybe seen us and that we haven't seen before, and so we want to make sure that we make connections and introduce with our new city leaders, but also that we keep that regular communication with our cities. Your partnership is really important to us, and without our partners, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and so we want to just continue to kind of make connections and let you know what's going on in our districts that you have a hand in. So some really exciting highlights. Our grad rate is kind of a shining star at this juncture for us. We actually, all of our comprehensive high schools are exceeding the state grad rate, Northglenn being at the kind of top at that with a grad rate of 89.8% against a state average of 79%. So we are super excited about that. Also that we are narrowing the margin for our minorities who are closely approaching where we're at with our general population for our students. So super excited about that. Also some accolades that we've had. There are a couple of schools, Northglenn Middle and Stookie, among them receiving the Centers for Excellence Award, which awards schools enrolling a student population where 75% are at-risk pupils demonstrating high percentage rates of growth. So we're super excited for them. And then also among that is Holstrom received the Colorado Governor's Distinguished Improvement Award, which goes to schools that demonstrate exceptional student academic growth. And then also the Holstrom K-8 and STEM Lab were both winners of the Colorado John Irwin Schools of Excellence Award, given to schools that demonstrate excellent academic achievement. So some shining stars, some highlights, and then I will let Chris talk about some of the initiatives that are going on in the district.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. So hopefully I'll talk loud enough that folks can hear. I know it's tough in the back. So first off, let me say it's a great honor to be here and talk to you all tonight. Many of you probably know that I'm a Northglenn kid. Grew up in Northglenn all the way through, and my mom still lives in the same home that I grew up in for close to 50 years now. She's been in that home in the Leroy Elementary neighborhood, and so Northglenn is the place that I have the deepest affinity for out of the communities within the 5-star district, and it's just a privilege to be here, and I'm excited to see the young generation of future leaders in the room tonight. So I just want to start with that. One way I would summarize a lot of what Jamie had to share tonight is that as a district, we've made tremendous strides forward. Many of you probably know that the state gives each school district a rating each year, and it's largely focused on how are you doing in terms of students mastering grade level expectations in literacy and math, what kind of growth are they making each year, how are you doing in graduating students and performing on ACT, getting kids off to college. And out of the 20 districts in Colorado that serve 10,000 students or more, Adams 12 is the #1 most improved large district in the state over the last 3 years. And we appreciate the partnership you all have had in making that happen for our kids. So we're very proud about that. And I'll talk a little bit in a minute about work we're doing on a strategic plan where we want to build off of the good things we're doing and take it to a higher level still. Let me talk a little bit, though, about the bond piece that Jamie mentioned. We're doing a number of projects throughout the community because of our community support of a $350 million bond issue in November of 16. And some of them very directly touch the Northglenn community. The one that's biggest profile right now is the STEM Lab reconstruction and expansion project. So for those of you who've been around for a while like me, once upon a time we had a school called Northeast Junior High off of roughly Irma and 112th in our community. And over a number of years, that school just had more and more disrepair and facility improvement needs that grew onto a longer and longer list. And in the early 2000s, staff actually had recommended that we demolish that entire building, get out the wrecking ball, knock it all down, and we'll either make it into expanded park space or do something entirely different. For a period of time, we had a variety of charter schools, church schools, third parties who used that space while we're getting ready to tear it down. And then starting in 2010, we added the STEM lab program in the former Northeast Junior High. And that science, technology, engineering, and math school quickly became something that was talked about throughout the state and the nation, has done an exemplary job of serving kids, but it's been in a really, I sometimes call it an armpit of a facility. It really is a place that has not been repaired and kept up for a long time. And so fortunately, our voters gave us approval to do something that's fairly unusual. We're keeping a part of that building, some of the newer parts that have been added on over time, and we're renovating that so that we take good care of the investment that people had made more recently in that building, and we're not just knocking it all down. And then the older parts to the west of that facility where we have the most disrepair, we are going to knock that down, and you'll see that happen this summer soon after school concludes. And in its place on the east and west sides of the piece that we're keeping and renovating will be 2 new wings. The benefit to that approach is we're saving taxpayers over $14 million by preserving the part that can be fixed and then adding on as opposed to doing a complete new rebuild. And we'll be able to serve a lot more kids in that facility. It'll expand up to 3 teachers or classrooms per grade level. And that project's on track. If you drive by, you'll see a lot of things on the east side of the building that are new. And if you take a tour, you'll see lots of things inside that are getting renovated and improved. So know that we're on track, on schedule, on budget, and excited to have more capacity in that facility soon. Beyond that, a lot of schools within the community will start to see renovation projects, with Northmore and Stookie being 2 of the ones who are going to get love and attention this summer to get those facilities into better shape. And then the final thing I would share is that this Elevate process that we are engaging in is a strategic planning process. And unlike many of them where the superintendent of the board just on their own say this is what we're going to do over the next 5 years, we really look to our community and to our staff and our parents to say, what do you appreciate about Adams 12 right now? What are we doing in a positive way that we should build on? And then what kinds of hopes and dreams do you have for your kids? What do you want to be different and better than what we have in place now? And really a culminating part of that process started back in September with some community meetings. We've had over 3,000 people participate. The culminating step is a summit that's going to be held on April 5th at the central office from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And we'll spend some time reviewing all the data we've collected from our constituents over the last 6 months to start the day. And then we'll start to meld what are the 5 or so key areas that we want our district to focus on and improve on and invest in over the next 5 years. I have some flyers about that here that give you more information. We'd love to have anybody who can take a day away from work or other activities join us for that. So thanks so much. Bottom line, Adams 12 is going in a good direction.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. You can hand those flyers to our city clerk, Joanna, and she'll pass them out to us. And I'm sure there are questions here. So. Okay. Jenny, you can go first.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both so much for being here. It's nice to have the update. It's nice to put some faces and names together. Superintendent, I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
It's certainly nice to hear about the advancements that Adams 12 is making in closing achievement gaps and addressing our aging buildings and infrastructure, and increasing our graduation rates. Those are all points for celebration, and I'm so glad that you shared them. You know, I feel like I would be missing an opportunity if I, you know, didn't bring up the fact that last week there was a school shooting in Florida, that 17 students and staff were killed. And, you know, I dropped my toddler off the day after, and his Montessori school was having a lockdown drill, and he's 2. And I can't help but think, well, really just be terrified that this is the world that my child's growing up in. And that he's going to grow up, and many of our children in this room are sometimes scared to go to school because of things that they're hearing about in the news or things that are happening in their own hallways. And so I have a couple of questions. One, around what is Adams 12 doing? What initiatives are you all pursuing? What do you have in place to keep our kids safe? 2, what are you doing to change the culture of picking up a gun instead of asking for help or having a conversation? And 3, how can Northglenn be a partner in that?
So let me do my best to answer those 3 questions. If I were Mr. Hoffman, I would, in other settings, object and say there's too many questions on the table. But I will do my best to answer all 3. So in terms of where we stand now, we are well regarded throughout the state and the country in terms of our safety and security protocols. There's a person on our staff who's now our Chief Operating Officer named Pat Hamilton that for a number of years before assuming that role within the last 12 months led our security efforts. And he's been involved in partnering with other agencies in terms of refining best practice, things like the lockout and lockdown drills that we currently do and the video that we show to staff throughout our system each year, as well to our students, and some of the collaboration we have with law enforcement officers really started in a unique way in Adams 12. It's part of the reason why Pat's been on the I Love You Guys Foundation board that John Michael Keyes created after his daughter was killed up in the Platte Canyon school system years ago. So we're looked at as a system that's very proactive in the safety and security space with good leadership. We're actually fortunate now that a former City of Northglenn police officer, Chris Wilderman, leads our security efforts now. And Chris has that law enforcement experience coupled with security work he did for us in the past and then in Boulder Valley more recently to bring us to bear here. We're building off of that foundation in a couple different ways. One is that we've done a much better job of creating incident commands and getting all the stakeholders and leadership who need to be in the mix on the phone or in person together when we have a crisis. So within the last couple of months, we've had to put that into play. One time was when Officer Gum was shot and killed in the southeastern part of our community. We were able to convene our team together and partner with law enforcement to eventually make the decision to close down the southeast quadrant of our school system the day after, as they still sought 2 suspects. So I think we've improved our communication and coordination and response in some of those ways of having conference call bridge lines where we all get together or we report to a place in person. Beyond that, one of the things that we believe is really important given the Florida shootings is to revisit our security practices at the high school level in particular. Many parents have noted that we have locked doors that prohibit access to parents and visitors at elementary and middle school, and that you have to be buzzed in through the A-phone system and be visually identified, and we've not done that at high school. And often the prevailing wisdom has been you can't do those kinds of security protocols at high school because there's just too many kids who need to have access through various doors throughout the course of the day, and that students won't follow the rules there. They'll prop open doors and do other things to compromise safety and security. We're going to convene all of our high school principals and our law enforcement partners and our central office staff to revisit that protocol and other parts of how we deal with safety and security and actively consider whether we should lock all of our doors like we do at elementary and middle and only allow people to get access with a key that lets them in, and then have alarms on our doors that if someone's propping it open, we know quickly and we can deploy people there to address the situation. So that's some of the work we're doing there. There's probably things that will emerge in that dialogue beyond what I know as a layperson of the space, but know that we're going to be convening in the next couple of weeks to revisit everything and add in new measures, because I think there's more that can and should be done in that space. Beyond that, in terms of a culture of violence and this attitude that many have that we should use weapons to deal with conflicts or frustrations as opposed to talking things through. We know from this Elevate process that I've mentioned that there's widespread concern both with parents and with staff around the social and emotional well-being or lack thereof with many of our kids. And I believe a key and important investment moving forward is for us to have more social workers, more counselors, more opportunities to build one-to-one relationships with kids, just so that we get them in a healthy place out of the gate. And then for students who are struggling, to have more resources available in terms of psychologists, social workers, counselors, and trusted adults to help them through those situations. Right now, we're in a very thin staffing position in all of those specialties, and we know that we need more support there. And then the third piece is in terms of partnership, I just would want to thank you all for your long-standing support of our SRO program, where the city basically pays half the cost of law enforcement officers who are stationed in our schools, and we pay the other half. That's not in place everywhere in our state or our country, and we believe it's a tremendous asset. And as we have other things emerge, we'll look to reach out and ask you for that kind of help and support. There has been some discussion about whether we should have SROs in every school, including elementary schools, and part of what I think we'll all have to struggle through and discuss together on that piece is, number one, are there enough officers, qualified officers even to do that work? Part of what we hear from Mr. Wilderman is that cities throughout our metro area and throughout the country are struggling to get enough officers right now even to meet existing needs. And so we don't know if we'd be able to get additional people to help out. And then beyond that, there's obviously a financial impact that having that continued support from the city would be important for us to manage. So I think that hopefully that answers the questions that were on the table.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meredith?
Thank you. I want to go back to Elevate for just a minute.
You bet.
And say thank you because I don't know if this happened in every school, but my son had an opportunity to participate and have a student voice in that process.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really important. It was important to him, and I think it changed the conversation as it was shared with me. So I appreciated that student voice in that process. Couple things. You did mention mental health, and so I really hope that that becomes a budget priority as you're doing the budget system for the district, because that's a huge need. But my biggest question is around communication and response in sort of this new era. Mm-hmm. So with the Florida shooting, and then the very next day, my daughter's in your system, a student drove a car into her high school building.
Right.
That was very scary. And the lapse of time between text messages from my daughter and communication from the principal was realistic, because the principal was reacting and responding and doing the right work. Mm-hmm. But the 2.5 hours of miscommunication is really scary. Scary for kids, scary for parents. And so I know there was kind of a frenzy. And so in this era of technology and social media and Snapchat and Instagram and all that.
Sure.
How is that being a factor in your security?
So on the communication piece, the mountain range thing is a great example. We knew initially on that there were students who feared that the school was under attack, which would be a logical conclusion to have after all the school violence things throughout our country. One of the huge challenges in a situation like that is that you often have the principal dealing with the crisis at hand and going out and making sure that, in that case, the student's car crashed into the school, the airbag deployed, the ambulance came, so we needed to get the students safely transported to medical care, and then we had to keep other students safely away, had to assess whether the building was safe to occupy, needed to get the student's vehicle towed off property. So there were some things that Julie Inger was attending to.
She did a great job.
And then we also needed her to be the
person.
person who told us what's true and what's not true on the fact side. Because oftentimes in the haste to get something out quickly, you report inaccurate facts and information. And so we tried to do our best. I actually was a party to that call from a distance. My mom was in the hospital with a heart issue that day. But we did our best to quickly get information out that was accurate and that we weren't complicating things even further. I didn't realize it was 2.5 hours between incident and communication out. We need to do much better than that. And Time's of the essence in these situations these days so that parents hear from a trusted source what's going on and that we don't have misinformation getting people into a frenzy. 2.5 hours is too long, and we'll improve on that or work to improve on that.
100% not a criticism. I respect the work she did. I know she did the right work. I think the question is more about how do we change how we act based on this technology piece of kids having videos and kids having texting capabilities, which is not how I grew up, right?
Sure.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it does push us that we have to be fast, and we've got to find ways to have communication experts so that the principal's not having to type this out and write it out while they're managing all the other dimensions of the crisis, and get that pushed out through text and other means ASAP. So we've got some ground to improve on there.
Thank you, Mayor. I am very excited to hear about the increase of your graduation rates across the district. Something very exciting, because I know that that was, a concerning trend for a while. I was curious, do you guys have an idea of how minority graduation rates have also risen or fallen in comparison to other students? And then also dropout rates, specifically among minority students. Do you guys have any sense of what those are and what you're planning to address?
We do. So the sad truth is when I started this job in 2009, at the tail end of the year, we knew that we had a challenge in graduating students across the district. The grad rate for the district was less than 62% of our kids graduating in 4 years. And for our Hispanic students, which is the largest minority group within the district, it's more than 40% of our student enrollment. It was even worse. We had less than 51% of our kids in the class of 2010 graduating in 4 years. And frankly, the reason why we've elevated our grad rate as a district by more than 22%, up to about 85% now, is because we've made supersized gains with our Hispanic students in graduation. So that sub 51% rate in 2010 was over 80% in the class of 2017, so a 30% gain over the last 7 years. At 3 of our 5 comprehensive high schools, we have more Hispanic students who graduate in 4 years than white students, which is a very rare dynamic within our state and our country. So if you're at Northglenn High, Thornton High, or Horizon, and you're Hispanic, there are a number of years data now that show that you're more likely to graduate in 4 years than white students. So we continue to shrink that gap down. The thinnest it's ever been was 3.5% about 3 years ago. For last year, that gap between white and Hispanic students was 5.5%. We want it to be a 0 over time, and we feel like this work we're doing is getting us to that spot. The dropout rate for the district's 1.7%, and there is some disproportionality that you see for our Hispanic students and for our students from lower socioeconomic homes. And our approach is really to build as good a relationships as we can and to have more of these additional supports that wrap around kids so that when life throws them additional challenges, we can help them persevere and go on to get a diploma. And a huge part of that success that I'm describing in elevating our grad rates is because of a school called Pathways that you may have heard about. But Pathways is a place that you can go if you're behind on credits and either you have child care responsibilities because you're a parent or you're a sibling who needs to watch younger children. You may have a job that you need to tend to and need flexibility about when you go to school. But as students go to Pathways, they often earn diplomas and are able to go on to into the world. So another key part for me moving forward is to expand more capacity outside of large comprehensive high schools for kids to have a high school experience. There are just many kids, and it's been borne out by what we see at Pathways and Vantage Point the last 4 to 5 years, who don't do well in 1,800 to 2,500 student comprehensive high schools. They get lost. They don't build the same relationships with peers or adults. And by having things like Pathways and Vantage Point, we can just make it a smaller experience for students that makes all the difference in them being successful.
Great, thank you.
Marcy?
With the remodel work over at the STEM, can you tell me what the increase in registration capacity is?
So with the growth at STEM Lab, we'll be adding about 25 students per grade level. So over the K through 8, that's about 200 new students who will be able to attend there.
Just to comment, Chris, I can't pass the opportunity to say thank you for a job well done. You have definitely made a difference in this district, and I want the public to know that.
Thank you. So one of the things I'll say following that, and I usually don't say it in this setting, but it's part of what drives me, so it's just nice to share it out. When I was a young attorney living in the Arvada area, 24, 25 years old, I had a dialogue with a neighbor across the street once, and he asked where I went to high school. And even though I grew up in Northglenn my whole life, at that time part of the Thornton High School boundary was the northern part of Northglenn by Washington and 104th. So I said I went to Thornton High School, and his response was, "Did you pack a knife to school?" And that's been one comment, along with some others ever since, that's really motivated me to make whatever difference I can in this seat, so that when people think about Adams 12 schools, Northglenn High School, Thornton High School, it's not through the lens of a place that there might be issues of discipline or other challenge, that it's a place with high quality academics and a community that's really adding value to the lives of young people. And it's been a privilege to serve in this role and to help, along with a lot of other people in this community, elevate outcomes for kids. And it's a pleasure to partner with you all in that work.
All right, thank you very much. You also kind of have to thank the voters for passing the bond issue, because I have a friend whose kids go to 27J and they have issues, and I feel bad that they can't get the money that they need to progress. And you guys are so lucky that you got that to pass. And I just want to say the voters had a hand in helping out. So that's
we're tremendously grateful, and thanks for reemphasizing that piece.
Well, thank you for answering the hard questions. No, you did. Thank you. I appreciate that. They were hard questions. And thank you both for being here tonight. And I hope that you can stay for the presentations of the recognition.
We will. Thanks so much. Congratulations in advance, students.
Okay, now the reason that most of the people are here in the room tonight, we have the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Awards recognition, and our lovely Jenny Murphy will lead the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome tonight and all of these great people. So before we get started, I'm going to talk really loud into this microphone, but what I'd like to encourage people to do is really get cozy, and I'd like people to come right in front of the, let me show you. Right here. So you can come, some people can come right in here, because I really want you to hear what we read about your students. And then if this line could move all the way up here, I know they won't mind.
No. Just fine.
Jenny has a I would rather have you hear than see. So please come in this way. I'll wait just a couple minutes because I know you're coming. And there's 3 chairs in here also. Oh, okay, 2 chairs. Okay. And again, there's space right against this wooden rail while we're waiting. And I promise I'll talk right into the microphone and loud so that hopefully, if you are still out there, you can hear me. Okay? And when it gets close to your student and they're alphabetical, please just step in and feel free to stand in front of someone, okay? Okay. All right, I'm gonna start here. Hope you're ready for all of this. So tonight, we are recognizing the 2018 nominees for the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Award. 25 amazing students from Northglenn High, Vantage Point High School, STEM Launch School, and Northglenn Middle School will be honored. So that's amazing, right? You should be really excited about that. As many of you know, the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Award is presented to youth in grades 6 through 12 and 20 years of age or less, and I'll settle down here in a minute, who serve as role models and an inspiration to all of us. The mission statement of ACMCYA is to identify and recognize young people who have overcome obstacles through service to self, family, school, and community, and to offer them opportunities for further development as valued and contributing members of society. The 25 students that we are honoring tonight have created positive changes in their personal lives in the face of sometimes considerable adversity. So tonight, we have nominators that have nominated all of these amazing young people. So I would like to share just a small portion of each one of their nominations. If we had time and our jammies, I would read all of them because you would see the full story, and as I did, and it's absolutely amazing what these kids have accomplished. So after we read the accomplishments tonight, then Mayor Carol Dodge and council will join us right here, and she will ask you to come up, and you'll receive a certificate from the city and get to meet the city council. And then we're going to take a picture right away, and I have to put a plug in for that because we're going to take a big picture up here, and I can't let you go until you do that. And then we have cake and punch. So see, it's all worth it, right? Okay? All right, so I'm going to talk loud. I'm going to talk into the microphone, and here we go. If I pronounce names incorrectly, please know that I still love you and I'm sorry, okay? All right. So here we go. Yvonne Garcia Aguilar is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Josette Alvarado. Yvonne has overcome many obstacles to get where she is today. Her freshman year, she struggled with making good choices. Rather than continuing down the wrong path, she turned herself around and has made the choice to excel in all aspects of her life, academically, personally, and professionally. She credits her mom with her success, as she's always given her constant support. Yvonne is a Northglenn High School student leader and mentor and participates in the Northglenn Police Department Teen Academy. Sorry, I'm stepping on something that's tapping. She recently got accepted into the Sheriff's Explorer program for Adams County, and she hopes to participate in this program until she's 21 while attending Front Range Community College to pursue an education in law enforcement. Yvonne wants to positively impact others because helping others is what she likes to do most. Angelica Archuleta is a junior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Lindsay Leuenberger-Klotch. Despite having a difficult childhood, Angelica's grandmother continues to be the most dependable person in her life. At a young age of 12, Angelica was in a car accident. Her older brother did not survive. Angelica has battled anxiety and depression. She failed most of her classes her freshman year and even considered dropping out of high school. Angelica first credits her grandmother, as she never gave up on her. She has been her biggest support and advocate. Angelica has completely transformed her academic performance and is now excelling in school. She has learned that only she can define her success, and only she can be the one who accepts failures. Angelica believes her struggles have helped to make her who she is, and she's thankful for each one of them. They have set her on the path for success in her future. Angelica has become involved in many groups at Northglenn High School, including the Sources of Strength Peer Support Program, which focuses primarily on suicide prevention among high school students. She has led initiatives to let other students know that they're not alone, even in the darkest times. Angelica hopes to pursue a career as a nurse in the future. Angelica is an outstanding student and has made such a difference in herself, our school, and community. Jennifer Barone is a senior at Vantage Point High School and was nominated by Andrea O'Kell. Jenny is a diamond in the rough. She has been at Vantage Point for 2 years, but has certainly not let comforts stunt her work ethic. Jenny cares for her grandmother and also helps to care for her 4 and 10-year-old siblings. She attends the Peak program after school, where she leads her peers in homework groups. She is working hard in school and has all A's and B's in all of her classes. Jenny has always led with her heart, but has not always been met with the same compassion. She has experienced bullying, thus leading her to Vantage Point. She has a forgiving nature, even though she has been through so very much. Jenny's plan for the future is to be a dental assistant in which she can give her clients the confidence to smile outwardly. Her next choice would be to work in nursing homes to assure that seniors are cared for the way they deserve. Jenny's thoughtfulness, kindness, and natural intelligence continue to shine in her last year of high school. She is the friend we all want, the student we all admire, and the type of person we can all learn from. Darlene Blia is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Daleen Bricker. Life for Darlene has never been on a normal path. She has had and still does have many obstacles to overcome each day. She often has taken on the role of mother and caregiver of her family, including nieces and nephews. Darlene always puts others first and knows how important it is for her nieces and nephews to have a stable home. She has given up much of her childhood and high school experience to care for the children. Ms. Bricker states that Darlene uses all the hard times to learn a lesson from. What a strong young woman. She works hard to graduate and hopes to become a neonatal nurse. Darlene is a survivor and teaches us that no matter what happens to you in life, you can pick yourself up and always do better. Autumn Brown is a senior at Vantage Point High School and was nominated by Kirsten Aristad. When Autumn came to Vantage Point, she hadn't found her place in success. She missed more classes than she attended, and she was struggling with trying to fit in. It was apparent life was weighing her down. Autumn enrolled in the Discovery program at Vantage Point and was paired with her teacher, Josh. He writes, "Knowing that there were many distractions in her life, I tried to help her realize that she was special in all facets and that her hard work and dedication in the classroom could lead her anywhere." At one point, Autumn was behind in her work, but she persevered and hasn't looked back since. She works outside of school, goes to school full-time, received several school awards, including Honor Roll, Student of the Week, and Student of the Quarter. She is one of the top school leaders. Autumn's kindness is abundant, her energy unmatched, her intuition spot on, and her quiet demeanor respectful. She credits Vantage Point for offering her the opportunity to be self-motivated and self-supported. Hopefully, she recognizes that she does as much for Vantage Point as we hope to do for her. Autumn says, "Don't give up. Don't judge people on their past. They can come up." Jessley Castillo Camara is a junior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Jennifer Braun Poliski. I knew I'd goof it up. Seeing you said you wouldn't get mad at me though, right? Okay, good. All right, so we'll say Braun. Jessley is a very driven person and was also very passionate about gymnastics. She was the only Northglenn student on our combined team with Thornton High School. Jessley pushed herself in gymnastics, but due to an injury, she is no longer able to compete. Jessley has used the free time from gymnastics in amazing ways to help students both at STEM Launch and Northglenn High School. She received a grant to have students face the biggest dilemma that they see at their school. Jessley focused on the health of her classmates and the struggle that poverty brings to maintaining good health. She worked with the school district to provide transportation for athletes to receive the free physicals that Adams 12 provided. Jessley has worked with younger students to relate better with one another, making good choices with friends. She continues to be a role model through the Smart Girls, Smart Guys program, which encourages good choices and a positive influence to the community. By using the time she devoted once to gymnastics to give back to others, she has helped elementary students with reading and math. She strives to complete her goal of 500 community service hours before she graduates, and she already has an impressive 400 hours. Jessley has turned her adversity to benefit the community and the school she works with. Chloe Crosley is a junior at Vantage Point High School and was nominated by Kirsten Aristad. Chloe has benefited greatly from Vantage Point, which greatly benefits from her friendship, intelligence, and leadership. Chloe has always been a bright kid, and she's quite grounded, being one whose family has undergone some bumps, bruises, and changes. Whose hasn't? She has never failed out of school or been kicked out or followed a more dangerous path. She does, however, suffer from social anxiety. This is exactly why she has been nominated, as she is one of the strongest, most capable leaders who is organized, thoughtful, and efficient. Her classmates look up to her and respect her. Her parents, step-parents, and family are all very proud of her. And she works hard to honor and recognize people that are often overlooked. What an honor to recognize Chloe so others are privy to the amazingness Vantage Point experiences each and every day, even if her anxiety lies just under the surface for most of us not to even recognize. Tiffany Deeds is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Josette Alvarado. Tiffany comes from a loving, hardworking family and works at Subway to help her parents financially. Tiffany juggles academics, work, and extra activities while keeping a positive outlook on life. She values education and knows the true importance. Despite not having family funds to help with college, Tiffany is college-bound and has been applying to many scholarships in addition to saving some of her money to help pay for college. Tiffany's key factor is her love and compassion for her family, along with her desire to learn. She thrives academically and is in the STEM biomedical pathway, which has a challenging curriculum. She has A's in all 6 biomedical classes. Tiffany is involved in the Northglenn High School Drama Club, Showstoppers, which focuses on technical theater, sustainable green projects, and is also very active in her church. Tiffany continues to give back to the school and her community through the many activities. She hopes to pursue a science biology career. Griselle Dominguez is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Josette Alvarado. Griselle has always been a good student, but last year, during the 2nd semester, she began to struggle academically. Despite failing 2 classes, she stayed on track to graduate early in December. The reason she struggled was that she became a brand new single mom to a baby girl. Nadia was born in September. Griselle has stated that becoming a mother at a young age is what has led her to wanting to do better not only for herself, but also for her baby, so that they both can have a better life. Griselle's drive and work ethic, both in and out of the classroom, is a positive example to everyone around her. Griselle is now thriving in all her life roles, including those of mom, student, family member, and employee. She is so thankful and lucky to have the support of her family as she sets and continues to meet her goals. She is planning on attending Front Range Community College for nursing and then transferring to Metro State University to complete her nursing degree. Jeremiah Ingalls is a 7th grader at Northglenn Middle School and was nominated by Jill Martinez. Jeremiah struggled emotionally last school year, but made significant strides to experience more success this school year. Through these significant strides, he was awarded the Shining Star Award for Excellence. Jeremiah's family lost his mom shortly before Thanksgiving break. He came back to school the day after losing his mom and explained that he just needed to be there. Despite the inevitable emotional struggle that comes from losing a loved one, that's a wow, right? Jeremiah persevered and is working hard in school. He is starting to smile again. Jeremiah is a strong young man and a true shining star. Lizeth Galindo is an 8th grader at STEM Launch and was nominated by Cindy Kinderneck. Despite being quiet and shy, Lizeth asked to be an ambassador, which is a student leader for the school. The ambassador students show good character, are responsible, and are connectors for the building by helping provide tours for the school for parents and the community. Lizeth has a caring nature and personality, which allows her to work well with others one-on-one and in team settings, as she always respects others' opinions, even if they differ from her own. The Adams County Education Consortium held a career expo for all Adams County 8th graders. Lizeth received special recognition by several businesses for her interview skills and ability to engage with them personally. Lizeth volunteers at a preschool to help with students in need and provides assistance whenever needed. Lizeth is truly an amazing young lady. Devon Garcia is a junior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Rayanne Armillo. Devon is someone who is typically not highlighted for what he is doing right. However, he is and will do great things in his future. Devon has made a big impression at Northglenn High School. He wants to do well in life. This impressive young man is working hard to do well in life and is taking steps to make a difference in his life. Despite some ups and downs, he continues to work hard to build relationships with his family. Devon knows the value of education and has worked very hard to pass his classes, keeping on track for graduation. Devon is a new father, and the birth of his baby girl has changed his life. Devon has become more focused on his classes and also puts his family first. He works extra hours to help care for his baby. Devon's family has been a great support system and are now helping him to plan for steps after high school so that he can have a career and not just a job. His goal in life is to support his child, but also have a career. Devon continues to reach out to his parents and also help them out. He is thankful to his aunt and uncle for taking him in and raising him. He has helped many friends by making sure that they have rides to school and always being there for them. It is an honor to recognize Devon for his hard work and many accomplishments. Diamond Gomez is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Rayanne Armillo. Diamond is a strong soul who has inspired many. She is kind, selfless, and always willing to help others. Diamond participated in the Northglenn High School Sources of Strength peer leaders group. Diamond has been a great leader within this group that supports suicide prevention. This partnership between Northglenn High School and the group creates a more positive environment through activities, both small groups and school-wide. Diamond has become an outspoken leader to both her peers and the adults in the group. Before coming to Northglenn High School, Diamond attended schools that were not as supportive of her and judged her before she could prove her worth and intelligence. Through the inclusive environment at Northglenn High School, that's awesome, Diamond's potential shines. Diamond has been accepted at Metro State University. This is something she thought would never be possible. She's so excited to pursue her goal of becoming a master electrician and is working hard to make that happen. Diamond has overcome a great deal in her young life and has used those experiences to make her life better and share her strength with others. Miss Armijo states that, "I wish there were more diamonds in our world. It would be a more peaceful place." Aliana Monet Gulerio is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Jennifer Braun. Monet has been nominated due to the amazing way she has overcome terrible circumstances. During her freshman year, she was involved in a terrible, tragic car accident. On the way home from her first away basketball game, both her brother and best friend were killed, and Monet and her mother sustained severe injuries. This accident affected the entire school, especially the basketball team. Monet came back and worked hard through the physical and emotional pain. She was incredibly driven and worked hard to play the game that she loved. The strain on her family, both emotionally and financially, has been very difficult. Monet is now the captain of the basketball team and is incredibly respected by coaches, peers, and the younger players that are all seeing something in her. She never gives up. She maintains good grades and is pursuing an EMT certification alongside her biomedical pathway at Northglenn High School. Monet is a student who has not only overcome very challenging circumstances, but has also thrived. She has turned those struggles into strengths, strengths to be admired by all. Eliza Guzman is a junior at Vantage Point High School and was nominated by Kirsten Aristad. Eliza is a true character, emotional, funny, kind, observant, and decent. She's been attending Vantage Point for 2 years, and it has been great to watch and see the growth and changes that she has made. Trust for teachers and other adults did not always come smoothly. Throughout middle school and the beginning of high school, her reaction to authority could become a problem. In addition, tension between peers was a challenge, and when unmediated, resulted in an expulsion. She remembers special help from an officer during this scary and stressful time and credits him with softening her stubbornness against any and all authority figures. Elisa entered the Discovery Program at Vantage Point High School and received help from Mr. Priestley Parker. Through this program, Elisa received help with anger management and conflict resolution skills. Elisa put her energy and attention towards helping others and also helping her school and her peers. She is adjusting to the role of professionalism as she both works and attends school in the same hallways as she uses her IT skills. Elisa reveals her kindness by reaching out to others that are struggling, including teachers. She is always there with a kind word, act of kindness, and recognition of support. Alexandra Holtree is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Rayanne Armijo. Allie does not open up easily and has experienced a great deal of trauma in her life. Throughout all of the struggles, she has shown up for school every day. Through all of the rough times, Allie remains put together and very determined. She has worked so hard to get to where she is today. Allie will be the first sibling in her family to graduate from high school, an enormous accomplishment for her. She has used everything that she has been through to drive her to be successful. She has a strong desire to graduate from Northglenn High School and apply for college. Her main support comes from her grandmother. Allie supports herself with the exception of rent. Allie is an extremely rare and special person. She is determined, capable, and smart. Allie has a dream of going to college to keep learning and better herself as a person. Angelica Martinez is a sophomore at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Eric Andre. Angelica has overcome so much in her life and has made leaps and bounds over the past 2 years. She is such a special young lady and has made so much progress both personally, interacting with others, and in school. Angelica has learned to advocate for herself, and she is a true inspiration for other students to persevere. She definitely leads by example for students in her classes. Angelica has learned to reach out and ask for help. She has participated in her community by feeding the homeless and putting others' needs first. Angelica really enjoys assisting her grandmother in organizing holiday functions at the local senior assisted living centers. She spent endless hours writing Christmas cards and assembling care packages just to brighten seniors' days. Her kind, generous, and selfless personality is an inspiration to everyone. Kyler May is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Michael Stelling. Michael says that the dictionary definition of grit is courage and resolve, strength of character. If you are not a fan of this definition, you could replace it with a photo of Kyler May. Kyler has more grit than all of his fellow classmates. Kyler has cerebral palsy, but cerebral palsy does not have him. Even though he has had to endure major back surgery and 3 major knee surgeries, he still figures out a way to get to school and participate in athletics. He not only attends and participates, he thrives. Kyler has a 3.4 GPA and has earned varsity letters in baseball and wrestling. He has one of the most academically rigorous course sequences through the STEM program. He works in groups to produce real-world products and make presentations to professionals. Kyler is a leader not only as a student and an athlete, but also through his church as a council member and leader of Children's Chapel. Kyler is a brave young man, and this is exemplified through every aspect of his life. He will make the world a better place. Angelica O'Reilly is a 6th grader at Northglenn Middle School and was nominated by Megan Welsh. Angelica has faced a great deal of hardship in her young life. Despite a difficult start to life, Angelica has persevered immensely. She is extremely kind to others and is constantly willing to help. She has a good friend who is in a wheelchair, and Angelica takes the initiative to help her every day at school. Angelica is academically focused, works hard to succeed, and has perfect attendance so far this year. She's a leader in her classes and helps keep other students on task. Though she has been faced with many hurdles early in life, Angelica is an extremely positive young lady. She always has a smile on her face and helps spread happiness to those around her. Alejandro Rodriguez is a 6th grader at Northglenn Middle School and again was nominated by Megan Welsh. Alejandro has overcome numerous obstacles in his life. He struggled upon his start of middle school this year. It was difficult for him to complete and stay on task. He has made huge strides and growth since the beginning of the year and has developed a strong desire to succeed. He is now a leader in his class, consistently supporting other students in their academics as a peer tutor. He asks thought-provoking questions, puts effort into his work, and is earning high scores. He recently received a Shining Star Award for his excellent work. Despite having ADHD, Alejandro self-manages without medication. He had an individual education plan, an IEP, in the past, but showed enough growth to be exited from this plan. Currently, Alejandro advocates for himself very well. He takes breaks as needed in the counseling office when he needs a little time to reset. We are so proud of him and look forward to seeing his efforts and growth as a middle school student and young man. Destiny Scannum is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Lindsay Leuenberger-Klotch. Destiny was born into a tumultuous family and was taken out of this environment early on due to bad choices her mom was making. She was part of the foster care system from 12 months to 2 years old. From 2 to 8 years old, she bounced back and forth from her birth mom and her adoptive family. Eventually, her birth mom realized that she was unable to care for Destiny and placed her up for adoption. Destiny is an African-American girl who has sometimes felt ashamed for the color of her skin. She has learned to love herself because she realized that she was who she was meant to be. Destiny now appreciates the qualities of being a strong, beautiful African-American young woman and has developed a deep and true appreciation for the family who loves and supports her. She has an incredible family that has watched her grow, walked through trials and tribulations with her, and continues to challenge her to be the best person that she can be. She feels blessed to have her family and now knows the true meaning of love. Destiny has had the opportunity to serve on 2 mission trips and has learned the importance of giving back and connecting with those in need. Giving Back is Destiny's middle name, as she volunteers at the Children's Museum, North Suburban Medical Center, nursing homes, the city of Northglenn, and her church community as well. Destiny has an outstanding GPA and is a 3-sport athlete. Destiny hopes to become a pediatrician and will attend the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. Destiny lights up a room and is a positive force, constantly accepting and encouraging everyone. James Spillman, and he just got here, so I'm glad, is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Daleen Bricker. James has experienced many ups and downs, but has chosen to turn his adversity to an advantage through his love of food. Is that great or what? James took the catering class for a full year and has truly found his passion. During that time, he has focused his learning in the culinary program, spending many hours catering events, washing dishes, organizing spaces, and just cooking for fun. He is passionate about the culinary industry. Through this course, James has made a positive change to be a healthier person. James also loves to write lyrics to music. He is able to play instruments, especially the guitar, by ear. James has created a positive rapport with teachers, staff, and administration. Through his hard work, involvement at Northglenn High School, and the catering program, James will be the very first to graduate from high school in his family. Congratulations, James, on your success. Kira Thomas is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Lanny Thomas. Kira has overcome a difficult home situation and really stepped up to help her family. Kira spent the summer being a full-time caregiver for her nephews, a newborn and one that was 3 years old. During her free time, after school, and on the weekends, she continues to help. Kira maintains a positive attitude through many challenges. She has a deep love for her family, is selfless, and always has a positive attitude. Kira strives to reach her full potential and works hard in school. She's very ambitious and hopes to reach her college goals. Kira has helped to relieve the pressure her parents were facing by caring for her nephews. Her support and caregiving allowed them to know that the children were being cared for by a loving, trusted person. Alexia Thompson is an 8th grader at Northglenn Middle School and was nominated by Teresa Biller. Alexia has endured many challenges in her young life. Her family has faced many struggles, which has led to much stress and uncertainty. Sadly, Lexi's dad recently passed away unexpectedly. Despite so much adversity, she chooses to be successful and has a spirit of strength filled with positive energy. Lexi focuses her efforts on things she can control in life, especially her education. Lexi is such an asset to Northglenn Middle School because she's a positive leader and a role model. She serves as an ambassador, helping younger students navigate middle school success. Lexi is a solid student both academically and behaviorally. She has a champion mindset and will do great things in high school and beyond. Noah Vigil is a senior at Northglenn High School and was nominated by Daleen Bricker. Noah has had a life of uncertainty. His family went through divorce, and Noah lived with his grandparents until his grandfather passed away. Moving between family members was difficult and became a way of life. At the time, Noah reached out to his Adams City High School wrestling coach, and he lived with him. Noah's desire to wrestle helped him to be a successful student at Northglenn High School. Noah is currently on the Northglenn High School wrestling team, where he hopes to attend state wrestling. He is also in FCCLA and volunteers with students that are part of the PACE program in Adams 12. Because Noah has lived in so many places and bounced around so much, it's amazing that he will graduate. Noah is very modest about what he has overcome. He takes full responsibility for all of his actions and knows that he can have a better life. Noah is a hard worker and is determined to become a better person each day. His education is very important, and he would like to go to college and be part of a college wrestling team. Despite all that has happened in Noah's life, he can still reach for the stars and find success. Can we give all of these amazing students a round of applause? So now, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me, so I'd like Mayor Carol Dodge and our City Council to join me down here. And as Mayor Dodge calls your name, if you would please come up and receive your certificate from the city. And then remember, the students need to stay here so we can take a group photo. And then you can have cake, okay? Thank you. Yes.
Hey. You guys are so inspirational. You don't even know, to us old people, to hear your stories, honestly, to hear your stories of perseverance and overcoming obstacles that, you know, when you're our age and we're jaded and, you know, we let things get us down. But honestly, follow your dreams. You guys are doing an excellent job, and it was very inspiring, and I did shed a couple tears, so I'm mad at that because I was trying not to, but okay. First award, well, it is an award, right? I'm going to read it, and then I won't read any others. So this is for Yvonne Garcia Aguilar for being selected as a 2018 recipient of the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Youth Award, and for showing outstanding courage and determination in overcoming major obstacles in your life. So will you come on? Okay. Next is Angelica Archuleta. Jennifer Barron. Do you want to pose for a picture?
Oh, I
with her?
could. Goodness. That was embarrassing. No.
Are you mom?
No, I'm one of the teachers.
Okay, well, thank you. Not just one of the teachers, thank you. Okay. Darlene Leah. Autumn Brown. Here, don't you? There you go. Congratulations. Jesselie Castillo Camara. You're so cute. What grade are you in? 11th grade. Was that bad? You're adorable. Chloe Crossley. Congratulations. Tiffany Deeds. This way. Oh.
It's okay. We just high-five you.
Grizel Dominguez. No one's coming forward, so we'll save that one. Jeremiah Engels. Lizette Galindo. Mom, get one? You got one of her? No? No. Do this for Mom. This one to Mom. Congratulations. Devin Garcia. Great. Okay, thank you. Yeah, not to look that's great. All right, Aliana, Monet, Hillary. Elise Guzman. I'm sorry, Alize. I should have been smarter than that. Congratulations. Can I grab one? Thank you. Congratulations. You're okay. You can handle this. All right. Alexandra Holtree. Angelica Martinez. Hi, Angelica. Congratulations. You're not thrilled, huh? You don't look very thrilled. It's not that exciting, but. Oh, you want one too? Wait, sorry. Stand with it there. Kyler May. Angelica O'Reilly. What grade are you in? 6. Alejandro Rodriguez. Got all dressed up tonight. Look. Give it up, girl.
You've got this thing called life.
Congratulations. Here, this is Destiny Cadam. We all know your dad, right? We like him. Awesome. Congratulations. Good luck.
All right, slow down.
James.
Take it in, girl. Congratulations.
James Spillman, by the way. Congratulations. Kira Thomas.
Very nice jacket.
Alexia Thompson. All right, last one. Noah Vigil. Congratulations.
Yes, and now we're doing a group photo. So we're going to take about a 10-minute intermission. If families want to head towards the cake and punch, that'd be great. And all of the students that are nominees, please come up here. Thank you.
us to forget that, oh, yes, we are, no, we're not. So, I mean, summer watering season program every year, because it saves the city money and definitely saves us residents money after paying those new taxes for the county. Goodbye, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's a discussion that will probably be had by the council and staff. So thank you for bringing it forward. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to be heard? Seeing none, we will move into. Joanna, would you open the vote, please? Vote's open. I will now open the public hearing on the application for the rezoning of the property located at 11295 Washington Street from C3 conditional and C4 conditional commercial to planned unit development. The Northglenn City Council has jurisdiction to conduct this hearing under the applicable provisions of its Home Rule Charter and Chapters 3 and 11 of the Northglenn Municipal Code. The procedure to be followed in this case will be as follows. City staff will give a brief outline of the nature of the application. The applicant may then present any evidence in support of the application. All persons opposed to the application shall then be entitled to present evidence. Any other interested person shall be entitled to present public comment or evidence. The applicant may then present the public who testify. All witnesses will be placed under oath by the city clerk and may be cross-examined by any party, counsel for any party, or the members of the city council. Are there any objections to the jurisdiction of the city council or to the form or substance of these proceedings? Hearing none, staff may come forward and give a brief outline. Present.
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, planning staff will be able to do a presentation and provide some information.
Thank you. Thanks, Brooke.
I have to say that was probably the briefest introduction I've ever had for a public hearing, so thank you, David. I could resist, I had. All right, I'm going to walk you through what the Planning Commission has already reviewed and seen enacted. On the onset here is that the council actually acts on the preliminary zoning, which sets the height, yard, and bulk requirements. However, the Planning Commission has already moved through their finals, so I'll cover that at the end of this process. But I will be providing you what I will call like an abridged presentation of what we normally do for the Planning Commission and touch on the highlights, and then we'll be available to answer any questions. The applicant is also here tonight, and also have an engineer on their team that will also be ready to answer any questions when I'm able to do that. So with that, I'll get started. Oh wait, it might help to turn on the projector, which means nothing in here. So, yeah, some good times there. Nice to see you.
I saw you pacing out in the hallway waiting until it was your turn.
I didn't think that the room could have fit me and everybody else. I think we were at our capacity. So.
It was warm too. So.
Yeah, I can hear the AC.
Versus last week, when we were experiencing noise here, and we all had winter coats on. Over here. It's freezing out. Now you're over there. All right. Pull my jacket.
That is not good.
Okay. What I will do is I'll walk council through the presentation. I do apologize. I don't know why this is not working tonight. Just bear with me for a minute. Okay, I was going to use this for because I was going to remind me of the slide for the presentation. Do you have one of just the presentation? All right, so a little bit of a technical difficulty there. Apologies. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the PowerPoint presentation in your packet. Okay, so tonight we're considering the zoning case for Council Bill 1903 to rezone certain properties at 11295 Washington Street. So the applicant, Ray Mechanical Systems, and I'm on page 2 of the presentation on your computers. The request is to approve a PUD rezoning for the purposes of a 32,000 square foot indoor sports complex with a retail component at 11295 Washington Street. Notification, this is a slide that just represents that we adhere to our public notification processes as is prescribed by code. Next slide, currently it's a vacant lot, and as some of you may recall, this is an owned property that once had a small office building on it that was demoed about 4 or 5 years ago. This is probably our 4th or 5th attempt at trying to find an end user for the site. It's located on the west side of Washington Street, immediately south of Maui, and is also, it was, up until recently, which is in your report, a 2-lot subdivision which was just approved last week by the Planning Commission to be replatted. The next slide is a vicinity map which shows the current configuration of the property and the surrounding land uses. Next slide shows pictures of the vacant land as it now stands. Following slide, which I'm to the north is the back side of the Maui Center where the thrift store resides, and across the street is residential. Okay, so jumping into the analysis that we do for this process for PUD rezoning is that the site is currently zoned C3 and C4 commercial. It's conditional, and there's a narrative in the staff report as to what that is and why. The proposed rezoning would remove that conditional zoning, and the main thing through a PUD process is that we have the ability to negotiate the site standards and development standards for the property. And in this case, the applicant had requested a variation of the non-living material versus living material requirement, and essentially went up about 8% above what we normally would allow for that, which is not a large deviation from the standard itself. So next part of this slide talks about the 2 lots, and due to the configuration, we're replatting into 1 lot, which was approved on February 20th by the Planning Commission. That replat does not come before the City Council because it's a minor subdivision. Next slide is just a picture of the site plan. I just would mention that the building is oriented in the center north of the property. The entrance is to the south of the property, and it's a right-in, right-out. One of the things that doesn't, which would help if we had the slide deck, is that there actually is a raised median along Washington Street, which would prevent left-out movement. So this will be restricted to a right-in, right-out access only. Moving on, parking. The property is providing 153 parking spaces, which actually exceeds our code requirement. Architectural elevations meet our design standards for this type of use, which is the next slide. Finally, I'll touch on the drainage and the traffic. So the drainage report, you were provided a copy of the final page of the drainage study. happy to answer any more questions, but essentially they are meeting our engineering standards and specs for drainage. Also, under traffic, this project did not generate enough traffic during the peak period to warrant a full-blown traffic study. However, in the staff report, you'll see that there is a memo from the traffic engineer that articulates what the trip generation rates are for this. One thing I would point out is that when we look at traffic impacts, we look at it primarily during the peak period, which is usually 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. This type of activity is probably not going to have any impact on the early morning peak period because of the nature of the use. And then secondly, when we look at the PM use, it's going to be spread out over a wider range of time where it's not like people leaving work or going to dinner. So this has a different sort of behavior when we look at the traffic impacts. And as a result, we rated a full-blown traffic study, and as such, we believe that it's a non-impact to the roadway network. Lastly, I'll jump onto the criteria. So we have approval criteria in which we consider every request for PUD zoning. And one thing I might just do is, if you refer to page 10 of 66 in the actual packet, it gives a little bit more detail about staff's analysis for each of the 5 criteria that we utilize, 6 criteria that we utilize for consideration of any PUD request. And with that, our recommendation is approval for the council bill tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? Julie?
I have a quick question. So this is going to be a sports facility mostly for kids, right?
Correct.
Or maybe some adults. I have a question if just, from personal experience when it comes to like kids' sports activities, if we were to run out of parking on that spot, where would that overflow parking go?
So I would defer to the applicant to better address that question. Typically, what some folks will do is they'll do cross-parking access agreements with adjacent properties. I apologize, I don't know if that's actually occurred. One of the things that I know being involved early on with this project is our concern was the amount of physical people that would show up and attend, and I believe that the way that the court is laid out and the way that participation would happen is that the likelihood of that is probably relatively low based on the programming that they would employ for the site.
Just for the applicant, but is there an access road that's coming in from behind the Malley Center?
So there is a driveway that is the back of the Malley Center that serves that. And I believe that they have that for emergency purposes for fire access. I believe that is correct. Yes. So, and also I would point out that in the southwest corner of the property, there is an easement that is recorded for vehicles to be able to access the back of the site in the event that they need to.
I remember there was something about Excel at the time.
Right.
Questions? So hearing none, we will have the applicant come forward. If you would like to answer questions, some of the council had questions.
If you have questions, I can answer them for you, hopefully.
We need to get you sworn in first.
Okay, sorry.
So if you'll raise your right hand.
Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, questions for the applicant, or would you like to say something first?
Well, I just, to the answer both their questions that they kind of have is that we've been working with the new owners, which I think is AB Properties, trying to get access to their backside so that we can then go out that way and then also use their additional parking spaces. And this is coming through an agreement that we're trying to work out with XL. XL really does not have an easement to our property, or your property, we haven't purchased it yet, as of yet. That's part of the problem that XL has. And if they don't get an easement from the A&B property, then they won't have access to our property. And so XL is really working on that. So we're trying to help them, and they're trying to work with them. And to do that, they want access to our property on a weekly basis, and then they also want to have an emergency where they pull in a major transformer, which is about every 20 years. And that's a huge truck that they pull in there that's about 108 foot long, and it's about 14 foot wide to put a transformer in. And so we've been working with them. And if it all works the way we hope it does, we will actually have them access to their parking lots and they'll have access then to ours. So that's where your overflow of that parking would work out.
Are there any other questions for the applicants? Can I just follow up on that? So is that going to be an emergency only and an access area, or is it really going to be an area where people can come in and out?
We're trying to make it to where they can come in and out. That's because we're trying to make that whole agreement to go together. If it's emergency only, then the people that own A and B properties have a problem because of the way that they have to then arch the road.
So this might come back to staff. So at our previous board meetings, we had heard people had concerns about that being an access area where they would be able to get onto Grant and the amount of traffic. So if that were to happen, is that a consideration, staff?
So while you were asking your question, I was looking at the traffic information. And just to give us some background here, is that we're looking at about Monday through Thursday, the projected peak hour traffic is about 40 cars per hour, and about 80 cars per hour on a weekend. So that would be during the peak time. So to answer your question, it would not be a substantial impact in terms of the amount of additional trip generation that would go out onto Grant Street.
I don't have any other concerns about the property besides that, because I think, we've heard concern from residents, and I think we had this conversation on Garland's with regard to the karate studio and the amount of traffic it really has impacted the residents, and we were under the impression it wouldn't, and the parking's been an issue and the traffic coming up and down. And we have Immaculate Hearts driveway at the very same place, and just have a little bit of concern with that. Okay. So I wouldn't like to see that be an always open entrance. I think our residents have voiced that. Any other questions? Would the applicant like to present any more evidence, or no? All right. Are there any persons opposed to the application present? Any other interested persons that would like to present public comment? The applicant could present rebuttal, but have nothing to rebut, so you're okay there. All right. Any more questions from council members? All right. So we will close the public hearing. It's closed. We will move into the ordinance second reading. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for a special ordinance rezoning from C3 conditional and C4 conditional commercial to planned unit development, certain real property at 11295 Washington Street in the city of Northglenn, county of Adams, state of Colorado, and amending the zoning map of the city of Northglenn.
Move for approval. Second. I don't think we need to read or to have staff speak, but is there any other questions? I'm assuming not, because we just had questions. Okay.
Yes. So I just wanted to say this is a great example of an opportunity where potentially there's a tenant that would be in there that might have to relocate out of the city for space factors. I just think this is as we talk about businesses and how they outgrow the city, this is just a wonderful example of how we're able to keep a business here in the community.
Thank you.
Yes, excellent.
And it's a good use of the space that we didn't know what was going to go on there, so we're excited about it. Thank you. Okay, hearing no more discussion, Joanna, will you open the vote, please?
The vote is open. I'll close that vote, and CB 1903 on second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. Yay!
Congratulations.
Good luck. All right, now the work begins, right?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, we'll move into resolutions, starting with CR 28. Do you want to read the title, please?
A resolution appointing the municipal judge of the city of Northglenn, Colorado.
Move for approval. Second.
Mayor, council members, we're considering appointment of the municipal judge to complete the current term through January 31st, 2019.
Is there any discussion?
quick question. I don't know, maybe another council member can answer this, or maybe staff can, but I just wanted to make sure that there was a particular tenant that was a part of the previous contract, or if she wasn't able to be present or something like that, that that portion of her salary was taken away from her and given, put somewhere else. Has that been, it has been completely removed, right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see
Yes.
it, but I wanted to make sure that it wasn't somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it was
Okay,
removed.
great. Thank you. No other questions.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open. Close that vote, and CR 28 passes unanimously.
Thank you. CR 30, Joanna, would you read that title?
A resolution approving the Connect Northglenn Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan as part of the city's comprehensive plan.
Second.
Please.
Yes, Mayor, council members, in February 2017, the city awarded a contract for a bicycle and pedestrian master plan to Alta Planning and Design. Initial work commenced in March with the following goals: connect residential areas to local and regional public amenities and resources, create bike ped-friendly connectivity in residential and commercial areas, maximize utilization of existing trail systems and underutilized roadway network, identify complete streets and safe routes to schools opportunities, improve accessibility for low-income and people with disabilities, and create wayfinding sign programs. With an extensive document in your packet tonight, staff recommends approval of this plan, and we're here to answer questions if you have any.
All right, thank you. Any questions? We have Sam and Ash. Sam, thanks for coming.
Sure.
No questions? Must have done a good job the last time you were here, right? All right, well, thank you. If hearing no questions, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open. Close that vote, and CR 30 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move, thank you, Sam, for all your hard work, I'm sorry. Move on, but I want to thank you because it really is a beautiful plan, and hopefully we will be using it in the near future, so thank you very much.
It's
Thanks,
been great to
Ashley.
work with you all too, so.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We'll move to CR 36, Joanna, please.
A resolution to authorize the city manager to issue a purchase order for an amount not to exceed $69,738.16 for the purchase of police department radios.
Mayor, council members, this is a resolution to approve the purchase of 20 radios to be split up between the Patrol Division and Victim Service Unit. These radios are being split up over 3 funding sources, and staff recommends approval of the purchase of the radios.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Close that vote, and CR 36 passes unanimously.
Next is CR 37.
A resolution to authorize the city manager to issue a purchase order to Shelter Harbor Motors Incorporated for a total amount not to exceed $121,179 for the purchase of city vehicles.
Mayor, council members, this is a capital equipment purchase for 4 vehicles for the police department. 4 vehicles are identified to be salvaged or in full bullets there. The table has 3 vehicles there. Just want to point out that there's two vehicles, the 2018 Ford SUV Interceptor. There's 2 of those for a total of 4 vehicles to the table. And staff recommends purchase of these vehicles.
Is there any discussion? Question? Marcy?
I'm just going to ask, so the price difference between O'Hara and Silter Harbor is pretty minimal. Did we just go with Silter Harbor because it's $200 less on one vehicle?
I believe we did. Chief May is here to specifically answer.
Really? So I just would be remiss if I didn't say that council said that we wanted to give some priority to our local businesses. And I would expect it to be more if we didn't choose it. So I guess I would just say it's this small of a difference. I think that we'd go with O'Hara and not the price, but that's just my view.
I'm going to second Marcy on that. I think that we really need to. Thank you. Yeah. I think that we need to prioritize local businesses when possible. So I was just curious, is there any other reason why?
There is.
You know, this is probably our third year using Siltahar, and the vehicles, I'm a little concerned going out with Omer because I don't think it's apples to apples on this one, so that's why. And then sometimes they're not as responsive, you know, to the questions. So, you know, we could probably sit down with them this year and try to really, you know, look into it, make sure it's apples to apples, so we get the vehicle we want. So I know I was thinking the same thing.
That's fair.
My guys came to me and they were like, they were nervous on that before, so we just took the safe route, went with the little spitter. We'll do Siltahar next year. We'll try to work with a little more diligent on that.
Jim?
I'm sorry, Tony.
It's not related to the 4 vehicles. I'm curious if we made any progress on 217.
Of course we did. Well, unfortunately, that's our volunteer car. And several years ago, several years ago, it was struck. It was a hit and run accident in our parking lot. And it was actually, they hit it twice. So it was big dents all over it, but it didn't total it. But we didn't have money to actually fix it, so it's been sitting that way for a while. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, this year we ended up getting another total of a police car, but it was where during that deputy being killed, there was a kind of like a hold up, and then you know they stole a car, and that was in progress, and they thought it was related to that deputy shooting. So our officers ended up getting in pursuit with it. They caught the guy, but one of the officers trying to cut him off thought it was just a puddle, and it was like a 4-foot pond that he went into and buried. So the insurance company told that vehicle. They said they don't recommend it for patrol use. They said, but they recommended us, you know, we could use it for something else, and I thought that would be the perfect volunteer vehicle. So we're just going to repurpose that one. So that's what we're doing with, because I know we've been working on that for you guys for a long time. So long story short, yeah, we have a vehicle that will be a good runner for the volunteers, but not for the first responders. And you'll hear about this again probably within a month when I come back to you and say, I need another car.
So we have a more good pond that we don't know about.
Well, you know, that poor officer's getting sailor hats and everything else. You know,
All right, okay, I don't know if we don't pond. All right, so let's get back to the one on the table.
So my concern was that we had volunteers riding around in a vehicle that looks really bad. And it's, you know, we had this discussion before, it's about image and the image that we project out into the community. And, you know, it's been quite a while now. I'm working on it. Thank you.
I got it squared away. It'll happen soon. Anything else?
Any other questions on the purchase, the new vehicles? All right. Thank you, Jenny. Joanna, would you like to vote, please? Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 37 passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving to CR 38 here.
Yes. I wonder if we could take 38, 39, and 40 altogether. Is there any reason why we can't?
It is up to the council.
Okay.
That's fine. Yes. Joanne, would you read all 3 titles?
So CR 38 is a resolution to authorize the city manager to issue a purchase order to Transwest Trucks for a total amount not to exceed $203,470 for the purchase of one streets maintenance patch truck. CR 39 is a resolution to authorize the city manager to issue a purchase order to Transwest Trucks for a total amount not to exceed $220,808 for the purchase of one dump truck. CR 40 is a resolution to authorize the city manager to issue a purchase order to Fourth Continental for a total amount not to exceed $54,158 for the purchase of one Val Turner truck.
Move for approval.
Second.
David, and Melanie
Yeah,
Shetty Moore.
all three of these back to Public Works are capital equipment replacements. They're all old vehicles. They were all taken off the state CDOT co-op bid price, and they're all under the appropriation budget.
Questions? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please? Vote is open. Please vote. Close that vote, and CR 38, CR 39, and CR 40 all pass unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to CR 41. Joanne?
A resolution approving addendum number 1 to the agreement between the City of Northglenn and Hallmark Incorporated for the minor drainage repairs project. Second.
Mayor, council members, this is our small drainage program. We put this into place 2 or 3 years ago, and it's really meant to address nuisance areas as opposed to the major capital project requests like Rangelong Creek would be astronomical in price compared to these. There's these number, many throughout the city. Last year, I think they awarded to this contractor. They had 2 addendums in here, which we didn't have enough money last year, but with the appropriation this year, we do have enough money, so we're suggesting basically an addendum award to this contractor to finish those 2 small problem areas.
Thank you. Are there questions? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
Vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 41 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to discussion items. First up is the Ralston House update. David Costner.
Yeah, our operation manager, Rob, is going to
Oh, Ralston, I'm sorry. Come on up, Rob. Because you have your handsome black Northglenn shirt on today.
I wear that so I know where I'm at.
You look good.
So are there questions on the memo, or I just want to update?
Oh, give us a little.
So we signed a contract. We are in contract with Northglenn Construction. We had our first initial pre-con meeting, and everything is in movement to start mid-March. They should be on site. We are having the groundbreaking March 1st. Hopefully we'll all be over the 10, 4 to 6. I think we're all scheduled, ready to go for that. We've got a couple of tents going up. Should be a good event. We have 2 trees around here removing after that event that are in the footprint of the location of the new Ralston house. And so once those are gone, we should see our construction truck trailer come on site, and they should get started, and hopefully we'll have it done by the time the contract allows, which I think is the end of November, beginning of December.
Great. Questions?
Just excited.
Yeah.
Just excited that it's happening.
Should be a great project.
We're ready to see it moving up, so thank you so much. Thanks, Robert. Thank you. All right, and our second discussion item is the Northglenn Justice Center update. Are you doing this one, David?
And the last one, Mayor,
Okay.
council members, on your memo here, you'll notice we've had a lot of action this last month. I'm going to start with the contractor's contingency log, and there's probably 20 items here. What we call that out in the field are BDRs, or budget variance requests. As you recall, in this type of contract, CMARC contract, our construction contractor has a contingency. That contingency is not there for their haphazard use. It's there for specific uses on the project that there's differences in the architectural plans from structural steel, for instance, and some of these are, or different catches in the field, which you know they're working in a lot of interior partition work now. They're doing fire protection in there. So a lot of these, most of these small BDRs are a result of plans that are maybe not as complete as you might think. You might have heard me talk about this at ADCOG dinner. I want to say that Hayford's done a great job in their plan set, and this is perfectly normal. So that's what that first list is right there. If you notice, even with the new 20 or so budget variance requests on this contingency for contractors, we still have $179,000 left in the contractor's contingency. So I still feel that is fairly good at this particular point in time. On the other half, here's our change order log, which, as you know, council appropriated some money, about $600,000 just for our contingency. We're requesting one small piece here. This is within the city manager's spending authority. This is $32,000, and this was basically for 3 additional doors that needed to be installed with prox guards. With that additional prox guard, we had to buy a little, basically a transformer to keep the power up and running on those, and that total was $32,000. And again, we are doing still very good in our contingency, having $417,000, and a lot of change, but correctly $418,000 left in our contingency. So I'm very happy with this, the way this is going at this particular point in time.
All right, thank you. Are there questions for David?
It's another exciting project that's going to happen, so, yeah.
Actually, one question.
So I'm just looking at item 31, which is the sound barrier for the kennel. Is this an outside kennel or an inside kennel for the dog?
This is a great question because the kennel is inside and it's near the sally ports right underneath the court.
Okay.
So we added additional soundproof in there just to be sure that we wouldn't be hearing barking upstairs.
Wait, is it for police dogs or dogs that you pick up from
Dogs
animal
that we pick
control?
up.
That you pick up. Thank you.
Well, it's something that Jim doesn't want to hear because I'm always a supporter of the police dogs.
What do you have against police dogs?
We've had long conversations about that.
We'll talk about that. Okay, I didn't know that. All right. Thank you, David. Thank you. We will move to communications, and we'll start with Jordan next.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I just want to say congratulations to all of the inspiring Youth Award recipients. I think their stories are very inspiring to all of us. I don't know how old I am compared to them, but it's really exciting to see them all. Another thing, the Police Academy is starting up next month, starting on the 7th, I believe. So make sure if you haven't signed up that you do so. It's a great program, which I plan to partake in. Thank you to Councilmember Lady on setting up the Read Forum today. That's really exciting for the city to take part in that. And finally, save the date for Ward 1 meeting, April 7th at 2 o'clock at the Glen. More details to follow.
Mary?
Yeah, yeah, so come out to the Ward 1 meeting. That's going to be fun. But Friday is the day that we celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday, and so that's Read Across America Day. Thankful to everyone that signed up, even though I signed some of you up on your behalf. We're really excited. We get to celebrate literacy at 2 specific schools. We will be at the Studio School and Stewart Elementary on Friday, and it's going to be a big celebration. So thank you for those that signed up, and it's going to be fun. The Youth Commission, those students have done an incredible job putting it together. They've gotten donations, so they will be donating 1 book to every classroom in both schools, which they really hit the pavement to get that done. So that's been a good thing. It's an exciting day.
Are we only reading Dr. Seuss books?
It will depend on the teacher. So the teacher may hand you a special book if they want you to read something different. The Youth Commission will have Dr. Seuss books.
Thank you.
I just have a couple things. First of all, in April, typically we have a proclamation read for National Service Recognition Day. And they're still going to do this in April, but they're also making some changes. They contacted me actually this morning, and what they're doing now is they're extending the invitation to all the elected officials. So if you want to sign up to support recognizing volunteers, and these are volunteers from AmeriCorps and also Senior Corps to get out in the community and help with disasters and economic issues, and so they're out there. So anyway, I have a link that I could have Susan send out to you if you want to sign up and just support the group. So you know, I could just have her do that and do it, or you can just actually go on the web and look for National Service Recognition Day, and it's out there, you know. So yeah. And then the other thing is, I really am sad to share this with you, but yesterday morning, Walt Stonehocker passed away. He had been in hospice for about a week, but we just wanted to let everybody know the family lived and farmed over at Stonehocker and Fox Run Parkway and Fox Run since 1927. And so they've been very, very involved with the community and have supported the community in various ways. And also they donate to the Historic Commission, the Family Foundation does every year. So there's more coming with that, but I just wanted to share that with you.
I attended the CML Legislative Workshop at the History Colorado Museum. We had special guests, Governor Hickenlooper, and quite a few state legislators there, and we were given updates on state house bills and just the stance that CML is taking on those bills. It was a good day. I also attended the Metro North Chamber Economic Forecast Breakfast. That was really good. This is the second year in a row. Typically they're pretty dry, but this is the second time that it's been really good. They actually had a futurist there who shared his vision of what life in the future and in the near future, like 2030, was going to be. And there were things, you know, drone taxis and 3D printers that actually can recreate organs and human tissue. It was amazing. So it was really a good, it was a great presentation. I attended the Art on Parade judging over in our theater. We viewed about 50 different sculptures, rated them. The results will be tabulated, and then we will choose the 5 or 6 that will go into the park, and then we all get to vote on it, all the residents. And they were very modern art this year. Not very many realist type things, which Northglenn has quite a few of. So it'll be interesting to see who the finalists are. I am going to be hosting a Coffee with the Mayor Saturday edition. I'm going to try Saturday at Atlanta Bread Company just to, you know, help the people that have to work on Monday morning at 8:30. So we'll see how that goes. It will be at 10 o'clock on March 31st. So stop by for just open discussion and city updates. And that is it.
I have an opportunity for those that are not participating in Read Across America. And that's this Friday, March 2nd, at Northglenn High School for problem-based learning, helping the students. The program revolves around giving people a platform. So they will make their presentation and tell their stories about how in a platform setting. So anybody that's available, 7:15 to 10:15 or 10:20 to 12:05, you can let me know, or I'll be happy to pass this to you.
When is that?
This Friday,
This Friday?
March the
I
2nd.
thought it was, maybe there's 2 of them, I thought it was tomorrow also.
I'm sorry?
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
February 27th. Because there is one in.
Maybe that's a different one.
Okay, I'm just curious.
No, this is about
Okay.
giving people a platform to share their stories.
Okay.
This is storytelling. This.
Yeah.
Look for it.
So anything's board meeting was last week, and one of the things that they're doing in their strategic plan is to move forward with providing career opportunities, to seek out new employment, to help maybe crafting resumes and getting some skill building. It's a program that they're working to develop. And a big portion of that is also around developing the business community and resources. And as a consultant, I have to say that one of the programs that they're offering is a self-guided business planning. It's a high cost for business owners to create a plan and be able to get funding. So if you are a business and you are looking to create a business plan that you can take forth to a bank, they have the software, and there's thousands of examples of business plans that you can look at, particularly in your industry, and be able to get some support. And they're working to further this program at all of the branches. So that is a cool thing that's now available. And then the fire district has 2 open board positions. So if you're interested, you can be anywhere in their district and apply for those. There are 2 open seats, and I think the election is in May. So, May, great. That's it. Julie?
I only have, I guess, a comment, and this is in relation to the email we got today about the Northglenn addresses homeless population concerns for a business meeting. I know we might not have the staff available, but I'm just kind of concerned about what that message is going to be, since I don't really feel like we've kind of created our own policy and how we're addressing homelessness in Northglenn, or it's still something that we're working through. So I'm not really, I I don't think we have anyone to answer that, but that was just a concern of mine. I don't really know what their message is going to be.
Jim, can you answer that? You're part of that homeless coalition. Or is it Debbie?
It's Debbie put it out, yeah.
It's business? Okay.
It's business related, so I'm just kind of interested in what that.
I think one of the things is, for the police department side of it is, the rights of a business owner, for trespassing and that kind of stuff. Some tips of, what you should do, some advice, because some of the businesses have fed the individuals right out the back door, and then it's caused some problems for them long term. So we're trying to identify, hey, instead of just giving them food, maybe donate that extra food to the local food banks. So we're just trying to, educate so we best serve the homeless population, get them to places where they need to be, instead of some of the places where they're sitting outside the businesses or they're locking themselves in the restrooms. So we're just trying to give them some tools that the business community can use to help them.
Can I add on to that from the Business Retention Committee? I think part of the other purpose of having it is DW has received some inquiries from some of the business owners, particularly by the marketplace, about it. And I think we wanted to be able to provide an outlet for them to.
One thing that we did was a SEPTED, that's a crime prevention through environmental design, behind the Albertson Center. So they're clearing all that out right now over the next couple days. I just went over there just to see, and I had business owners coming out thanking the city for taking that on, because it's been really concerning. And some of them were planning on leaving; they were weren't going to be released, but they really appreciate the city's active, trying to help them, because they really do have a problem. They were pulling mattresses and everything else out from the edge. So, it looks fantastic. So if you guys would drive by, go behind Albertsons between that west building and the hospital, right in there.
Well, I think it's important that our businesses have an opportunity to voice their concern, and I hope that some of those concerns come back to us, and we incorporate that into what our future plan is.
And I guess and I assume this is the lunch and learn that we're talking about.
Yes.
From my perspective, anyway, there's a big difference between what you as the city council regulate, which is the public areas, and I think this was done, at least in my mind, in large response to questions private property owners had that is different from what the city does about what their rights are and what they can do, what their tools are. We'll certainly make sure you are aware of what the conversation is, but I think this is more intended to be informational because they have a whole different kind of toolbox, if you will, than the city does when the city's regulating public property.
Thank you.
Jim? All right, I have a lot, so hang in there. One is Antonio and I held our first board meeting last Wednesday, and it was a huge success. We had over 60 residents join us, and I want to say a quick thanks to staff, in particular Debbie Cuddle, you, Mr. David Wood, Jim, Hayes, and Mays, Susan, and then I think the comms team helped out quite a bit, as well as Amanda. You probably helped too, Joanna. I probably did. But thanks so much to the staff. I had no idea just how many moving pieces there are to making those a success. So thank you. So I wanted to bring back some of the concerns that I heard, since I know many of us have board meetings, and I really hope that by doing this that we create a culture of talking about what happens in our board meeting and bringing some of those concerns back. So one I heard was, and this one was new to me, that folks in the southern part of Ward 4 would love to see a park somewhere. I passed all of these concerns and these wants along to staff, but again, want to just start saying them out loud. As usual, code enforcement continues to be something at the top of the mind of residents. There was concern about traffic once the Justice Center opens on Community Center Drive, and how that's going to impact Global Village Academy. Probably not new. You heard from Alan, who came, who had concerns about water restrictions and when we were going to get on top of letting residents know what those would look like for this year. Let's see. We had a resident who was really interested to know whether or not the Justice Center would be LEED certified and if we would have a solar component. Let's see. I had a resident who shared that they were upset that the driveway that connected the Huron Center and the Bay to the West has been closed. They believe for a retention pond, and there was never a legal easement there. But all the same, they wanted to pass along to the developers that they wanted some way to get in Bay to the West and then to the Huron Center without having to drive around in circles. And then, what else, Antonio? I don't think we heard, folks were generally willing to give Save You Ought to Try. Felt like Debbie Tuttle did a really great job of helping everybody understand the demographics of our city and how they really did knock down every door for grocery prospects and how the Save a Lot is not going to look like a Save a Lot in other areas of the metro area, of the metro community, and that it's going to be new and fresh and ours. And that was relatively pretty well received. And then again, traffic calming on Melody Drive, which I know we're all taking steps towards addressing. So generally though, I felt like it was a really positive meeting and folks felt like we were going in the right direction on a lot of the projects. Let's see. And then the next thing I wanted to make a comment on was because I missed the last council meeting because I was in a car accident, I missed the conversation around arts funding. And I understand that council moved forward with adding an additional $1 per resident. And I just want to make sure that staff is getting the support that they need to be able to manage that increase of $40,000. I spoke with Jim earlier and he mentioned that staff has already planned out their program for the year, and so they weren't entirely sure where that money was going to be spent. And so if there are any restrictions that we as a council have on the books around what amount of money they can carry over into future budget years, then maybe that's a conversation we should have so that they're able to really use that money in the future. And I also just want to flag that, I don't know that $2 is enough. And I don't know, I think that's a nice amount. It felt really arbitrary. But I really want us to come back in a study session or when we're going through budget talks to actually ask them what they actually need. So I'll leave that one there. Ledge Committee met just before council got started. And we started to have a conversation around how can we involve the full council in our decisions around what bills we were going to support, oppose, and monitor. And it feels like there's a little bit of a gray area between how we take action. If there are any particular items that are outside of the scope of the document that you all passed related to what we're going to focus on for the legislative session. And so I wanted to get council consensus around a process, since it feels like there's not one. So in months that the state legislature is in session, I want to add a legislative update on our agenda. So that would be January through May. And during that time, the Ledge Committee would present basically what we had discussed in our meetings, which would cover all of the bills that we believe we should take a position on, whether that's neutral, oppose, or support. And then if there are any issues or any areas for discussion, we can do that as a council. And then in subsequent meetings, council will only hear about new bills coming forward. So we won't be going over bills that we've previously looked at. And then at the conclusion of the legislative session, we'd like to invite our lobbyist in to give a full presentation about the legislative session and provide insight around why some of our legislative priorities didn't move forward or what we can expect in future legislative sessions. So this is really a way to, make sure that we're all on the same page and, that way, perhaps Councilmember Downing isn't out in the community and just hearing about a piece of legislation, that we all, that the legislative committee supported. So it's a way to kind of bring some of those issues out and let the community know that we are taking action, we are playing in the legislature, and here's what we're doing. Does anyone have any questions or opposition?
I have a question.
Sure.
Doesn't the legislative committee just take position on Northglenn issues? Like, are we just talking Northglenn issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I mean, yes and, right? Like, if there are particular issues that impact our residents, I mean, I think that's when we should be having a conversation, because there are a couple of them that the committee has had a conversation about supporting or being engaged in. And so, I think either way, it's a good opportunity to talk about what's going on in the committee.
So, an example would be, right, today we had a conversation about supporting a youth suicide prevention plan. Now, is that Northglenn specific? No. Does it serve our community? So yes, but in a broader sense. And so that's when we started talking about at what point do we have these conversations with the larger council to kind of move and get a consensus on the way we're kind of taking those positions for these practices.
Yeah, and I agree with that, I mean, if it's something that would help, everyone. But I think the process, I mean, any committee that we have, it is more of an advisory, and then you have, if you are going to take a position on a bill, whatever the bill is, then you bring it to the entire council to discuss it in a period. And then we decide one way or the other, if we want to, as a city, support that bill. Is that correct?
Let me try to, I think, bridge what Councilmember Downing and Councilmember Mullican and Wilford are saying. The policy statement is intended to be a guide for your legislative committee. And so if a given bill is answered by what's in, the position is answered by what's in the policy statement, it's certainly the legislative committee's understanding that they are empowered to take those positions because it's already been covered by your policy statement that was adopted by the council. I think the example given today about the suicide prevention isn't covered by the policy statement at all. And so that would be the type of bill that they would bring forward to you and say, this isn't covered, we do need assistance in getting direction on a position.
But we've been taking positions on bills so far this legislative session that obviously we have not brought to.
Are they all in, are they all part of the policy that we have established, or is there something outside of that?
I think the problem is that the policy is very broad, right? Like arguably pretty much anything that we are saying we want to take a position on could be covered under the statement. So I think that's the problem. We're trying to figure out how do we keep you all updated and have you be in the know while being transparent, and also doing our job, quite frankly.
And so are you looking to have it added to the agenda item in a regular meeting, or?
Yeah, and only January through May.
So I don't want to be updated however we get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't imagine that this will be like half an hour thing, right? Like I imagine we're gonna run through the bills, share the title, share what position we took. If there is particular concern or a question about the piece of legislation, our lobbyist has agreed to be here for that portion of the agenda.
No, there'll be written documentation to go with it. So you'll get a copy of what he calls his dossier. So it will be not only the report, but you'll have a written document as well, so you won't be hearing it for the first time.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to note is that any of our positions that we take and direct our lobbyists to act upon are already publicly disclosed. And so this is an added layer of council having that information and being able to fully agree without with consensus, as opposed to having 3 members. I think we're fantastic, but having 3 members choose how the city will be acting on a piece of legislation.
So you're looking for consensus, not unanimous?
I mean, consensus that we, I mean, I mean, anything, feedback, any sort of discussion around like, what is our process? Can we add this to the agenda?
People find this
through
helpful,
May?
useful, is this something to build on? I guess, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, obviously, because I'm a female, I get that part of it. I think at this level, I worry about partisan politics coming into play on issues, and I worry about that. And I don't want us to all be sitting up on the dais arguing politics. So that, I wouldn't know, how does that be kept in check? Because that's not what this is about, and I don't want it to be about that.
I think council can sort of govern that with its internal policies. So if there is a consensus on a bill, it's not an issue. If it is, for example, a 5-4, tonight a 4-4, but if it was a 5-4, council may decide they don't want to take a position on a bill that's cut that close because it's not something a strong consensus of the council agrees on. But that's something ultimately the council has to decide in terms of what that looks like.
So to me, it would seem like we would probably have to discuss this in a study with Jim there also to go through the process of how we're going to, how many votes is going to make support of a bill.
And again, we're talking only about bills that are outside policy statement.
Right. I know, but those would be the ones where I would worry that partisan politics play into that, and I don't want to have those discussions at Northglenn City Council because we are a nonpartisan body. So, do you feel okay having the discussion at a study session with Jim there also to kind of discuss process?
I mean, sure, if you all feel like we need additional conversation around the process or you want to flesh it out more, sure. I mean, when I'm thinking about all of us voting around what legislation to support or oppose, I mean, I don't personally feel like it needs to be anything more than a majority vote, simply because that's how we conduct all of our other votes. I hear you in terms of, turning this into a partisan game, because we certainly are a nonpartisan council. But I think that, we're already sort of wading into that water by having a lobbyist and having a legislative committee. And so, I think talking about what legislation we're moving forward with, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a transparency thing, and I think it helps all of us.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that one of the things I've learned in my time on council is that if we don't flesh it out, then we find the parts that aren't working after the fact, and usually when a circumstance arises. So I like the idea of just pushing it out. I like the idea of having an update and being able to have that discussion. And but I too would be a little concerned about not having the discussion of how it goes and its authority. So I'd be in support of having it in a study session to nail it down.
Okay.
And then
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think that's a great step. And maybe at that time we can also look at how all of the other committees report back. Because we have so many committees and, we're all serving on them. And I feel like, I appreciate this time for communications, but hearing about events isn't telling me what's going on in your committees. And so if we can also think about maybe what reporting mechanisms we can build in for all committees there, I think that might also be a good use of time if we're going to do a study session. But I'm totally open to that.
Is everybody okay with having a study session?
I think
okay.
so. Okay. And I would just ask that it be sooner rather than later, since the end of the legislature is May.
We'll see how the agenda looks. It's upcoming, so yes.
Great.
Right.
There's one other item that I wanted to ask for council consensus on, and that's instructing staff to move forward with looking at a sexual harassment policy as it relates to council members. So this is not coming up out of there being an incident. I'm trying to push our city to be proactive as opposed to reactive. So we've all seen in the news over the last couple of months the instances and the accusations of sexual harassment at the Colorado State Legislature. It has impacted both parties. But what we've learned from watching that entire process is that they had zero plan. They had zero process, zero policy for how to handle an instance or an accusation of sexual harassment. And I've spoken with Jim about it. He has indicated that there is a policy as it pertains to employees, but not for how it pertains to council members. And that's a really important distinction, because employees, you can do an investigation, and at the conclusion, there's potential for termination. You can't terminate a sitting council member unless the electors come together and move forward with a recall. And so that's why, you know, in speaking with Corey, in speaking with Jim, and I believe they've also spoken with Paula, I'd like them to be able to go out and research and see what other cities are doing. I believe Lakewood is also in the process of developing a policy, and I believe that Jim and Paula have some ideas as well. But I felt really strongly that I should come to you all first and let you decide if that was something that we should all be doing, for, you know, if they spent any additional time and you all just received a resolution that said, here's what we're doing. So I would really love that opportunity for our city to be proactive in addressing these matters.
Is it above and beyond the allotted time that you are allowed? Which I don't even remember what that is.
2 hours. 2 hours.
2 hours, okay, thank you. Will it be above and beyond 2 hours?
Likely not, because we are already working on a policy that we're going to bring to you that is a grievance policy that will apply if a council member, for example, is the perpetrator. But this would add another layer, primarily at Paula's level, where it would make some existing policies that are currently employee only geared also applicable to council.
I'm okay with that.
And I think that the plan is to bring it to a study session within the next soon.
Is everybody all right with going to a study session also?
Great. All right. And then finally, for real, I just wanted to note that I'll be missing the next city council meeting, March 10th, I believe, to attend NLC in Washington, D.C. NLC is the National League of Cities. That is all.
Thank you. Joanna?
Are there things for here? David?
Nothing tonight.
Corey?
Nothing tonight.
All right. Thank you. Next item would be public invited to be heard. We have no one, so I will just move to adjourn the meeting.
All right.